Welcome to another fantasy happy hour. I believe this is our second Saturday slate. We think we had one on the Thanksgiving weekend there. So yeah, if you're coming from our Thursday one, thanks for watching. Two big games for Saturday makes the weekend a little bit more exciting here. First up, we got Buffalo Bills, Denver Broncos. Oh man, are the Bills looking great right now? What a team! People in Buffalo must be stoked because their hockey team is not very good. But Tarin, what do you got for this game?
Well, it's funny because they threw up a millie maker for this Saturday 2 game slate, so it should be a fun one. Lots of people getting involved, and go for it if you want to try on DraftKings. But the Broncos, it's funny if you watched our Thursday video, I talked about Derek Carr being in the millie maker the last 3 weeks. The other week it was Drew Lock. So I actually lean, if I'm going to take a quarterback just to be different on this slate, I think I go Lock. The Bills' pass defense hasn't been great, and he's been putting up 4 touchdowns. He rushed for one. I think he's a great option at 5K. He just saves you so much money because you're going to want to go to the high price guys in the next game. And I think it's just a great option. I mean, Josh Allen's always there. You can play Josh Allen. I don't need to tell you why you can play Josh Allen. I think it's obvious at this point. The game funnels through him. Buffalo's not running the ball. They're a pass-first offense now. And I think that's just an obvious play. So I like the Drew Lock play, especially after his last 2 weeks. Running backs in this, like I said, the Bills are a pass-first offense. I don't like either of them on this slate. There's better options in the other game and the other side. For the Denver side, Melvin Gordon III is probably the best option at running back in this game. I think he's got the best usage, and he's their pass down workhorse for the Denver Broncos. So you're also getting them in the air if they're down and losing this game. Wide receiver, there's an onslaught of guys you can take in this game. We saw KJ Hamler break out for 2 touchdowns last week, 2 bombs, who I like, especially at the price of 3,500 with that Drew Lock stack. And then Tim Patrick is the other guy. He's that alpha receiver that took over the Cortland Sutton role in this offense. I think he's a great option. On the other side, you have Diggs, Beasley, and Davis. John Brown is practicing again, but I don't think they'll activate him from the IR in a short week. So I think it's Beasley, Diggs, Davis. I would probably lean Beasley here. I think everybody's going to go to Diggs off that last game. I just think you got to fade somebody somewhere in this 2 game slate. So take the shot somewhere. And I think that's by fading Diggs, in my opinion. I just think he tends to bounce up and down. And if he puts up an 8 for 70 line, that's probably not going to be the best option in this 2 game. And then at tight end, I don't like anybody on the Bills, really. Dawson Knox hasn't been good enough overall. So I'd like leaning to Fant and that double stack with Hamler, Fant, and Lock is so cheap on this slate. I think Fant's 3,800. But I'll talk about a great stack at the end of this. But the defenses, I'd probably take one of these two of the overall slate. I think I like this game to have a defensive touchdown somewhere. And Broncos are 2,400. It's a good option against the Bills. He does still give up a few sacks, so maybe they get that run back on the punt return. But is there any options I didn't mention there, Justy, that you like?
No, you touched on basically everything. Like I like the analysis there on fading Diggs. I agree with you that he'll probably be highly, highly owned. The worst part though is always when you do make the fade like that and they get 30 some points because you're kicking yourself being like, why?
Yeah.
Um, you touched on Hamler too, who was, you said 3,500. I have him here at like, I said 3K, 3 point something. I wasn't sure, but 22 fantasy points. That's huge for that budget of a price. What do you think about Judy?
You know what? He doesn't see the role. Tim Patrick has seen kind of that alpha receiver, and then KJ Hamler gets the bombs. So Judy just hasn't seen the target share I'd like. I mean, out of the three, who's going to go lowest owned? I'd still think it's Hamler. And I think Judy's name value gets him more ownership than he probably warrants. And Patrick has become like the better receiver right now. I think Judy will be better in future seasons, but I think this season it's Tim Patrick.
And are you completely fading Singletary and Moss? I mean, we saw this last week. They both only had 4 points. Not
Yeah,
worth it whatsoever.
I think you do at this point. It's a Josh Allen offense. It's passing or it's Josh Allen rushing the ball. You'll catch a Zach Moss touchdown, but even when he gets one, he puts up 10 points. That's not going to win it for you. So I just don't think there's enough ceiling in those guys to win this slate.
Okay, great. Let's move on to Carolina Panthers, Green Bay Packers here for the second game.
Another fun game, another fun offensive game. I think Panthers toss the ball. Bridgewater, he airs it out. He throws a lot. Packers, of course, Aaron Rodgers plays like that every game, and you got the lock receiver that I don't think you ever fade any week now. I think Devontae Adams is just that guy. But if you go to quarterback, Rodgers is going to be the clear highest owned guy on this whole slate. And I just think that that leaves potential to fade just because you have an option to go somewhere else with Rodgers and maybe hope that Aaron Jones bounces back. He has looked bad. I don't love him, but I mean, maybe play that fade and just hope that Aaron Jones goes off. Teddy Bridgewater is an option here, but I think out of everybody, he just doesn't have the ceiling that everybody else has. And I don't know if that's the best option here. But if you go to running back, CMC is projected. I don't think he's going to come back. But if he's back, you play Christian McCaffrey in this game. The Green Bay run defense is 28th in the league, probably one of the worst. But even if he doesn't play, I think you could go to Davis, Mike Davis. He had 2 TDs last week, got lots of passing work. I think 5 receptions for 40, and he ran for 70 and 2 TDs. So another great option against this team. And if you want to play Aaron Jones, play Aaron Jones. I mean, it's a play on a guy who's just hasn't performed, and it's kind of bugging me because I locked him in last week in so many lineups and just the biggest bust ever. You move to wide receiver, and there's just no reason to fade Devontae Adams anymore. His floor is about 25 points. Like, the guy gets, 10 receptions for 100 and a touchdown every game. Like, it doesn't seem like it matters anymore. On this slate, there is an option that there's enough receivers going off that maybe fading him is valuable. I know we saw that last week in the Millie Maker that he was too much. He put up 28 points, but at 9,400, it doesn't get you as much as, getting the other cheaper guys that went off. So on a 2-game slate, I just don't think it's warranted to fade him though. But if you do, you're being different, because I would guess 60 to 80% ownership in this slate. So, play it as you will. But another receiver in that core, Marquez Valdez-Scantling, has came forward. He's a great secondary option. Rodgers is starting to trust him, and that's key. When you have trust from Rodgers, you get the ball. That's the nice part. So he's starting to see that work. And then on the other side, Anderson, Samuel, you can kind of pick one, but I think you play the price on Samuel at 4,200 because Anderson's 62, and Samuel's put up just as much fantasy value. DJ Moore might be back, but who knows at this point? He's on the COVID list. And overall, you can play either of those receivers. I think you one off them with Davis, though. Maybe don't stack them with Teddy B. And then the only tight end I liked right away was Robbie Tonyan. I think he's a great double stack option with Fant to save you some salary if you're going to pay up all over the board. The double tight end option has been paying off pretty well, especially on these 2-game slates. And then the defense, if you want, try Green Bay out. They do have the odd performance that's really good, but Carolina I wouldn't touch probably.
Yeah, no, that's great. I mean, we look at the past week here, and we have Rodgers and Adams and MVS, all 3 of them over 20 fantasy points. Like, it would not be a bad idea to be taking all 3 of them in your lineups there. And they're just so, like, Adams and Rodgers week after week after week are always in their top 5 of their respective positions, and it's just another one of those stacks that's just so reliable where you might have been switching it out start of the year, but now it's hard not to, right? Just want to quick touch on if anyone's playing a showdown for this one or for both the games and they opt in to do those, do you find it almost impossible not to be taking 4 Green Bay players in this?
Maybe not. You could consider the concentration, right? If you expect this game to be a bit of a blowout early, taking like Devontae Adams alone and hoping he catches the first 2 touchdowns, that locks him into the captain spot. So having him and Rodgers is great. Maybe even just putting in, a Tonyan and then stacking back the other side, because they're going to have to play the game from behind and throw a lot. So maybe even going like Rodgers, Williams, the backup running back, and Devontae Adams, hoping that they blow them out and Devontae catches it all, and then stacking up the other side that they're going to have to play catch up. So
perfect. Well, thanks for the analysis on those 2.
Yeah, my favorite, I have a few favorites of this, but I think everybody should consider Drew Lock here. I think this could be a bust, like a boom bust chance, but I think 5K just frees up you if you want to play CMC if he plays and Adams, 9K and 9K. You do that. You do like a Drew Lock, Robbie Tonyan, Fant, double stack at tight end. You could fit every high price guy in that you want. And that includes KJ Hamler if you want to double stack there. So that's an option if you want the Diggs, the Adams, the McCaffreys, So
That'd be pretty exciting if that happens. So if McCaffrey's back playing, that's great. Um, Sweet. Thanks for watching the Saturday one though. It's these ones are a little bit different for us, so hope you like them. We'll have the Sunday one linked at the end here, and if you're watching it during the week, the Thursday one as well. So maybe check that one out too. But yeah, let us know what you're picking. Give us a like, and yeah, maybe even subscribe if you're feeling generous.